Fights over toilet paper in supermarket car parks. Empty schools and workplaces.
Where is everyone?
The coronavirus is causing unprecedented changes to Australian society. Join us tonight for a special edition of Late Night with Dishy B. We'll discuss the complexity of this situation. Our special guests tonight are Complexperts Martin Narayan and Ahmed Azhar. Hi Australia, I'm Dishy B. Obviously doing this program from my own home, self-isolating. I like to welcome our audience who are also at home self-isolating. This is Late Night with Dishy B. We're first joined by our complexity expert, Martin. Martin joins us via video link from his home in Adelaide. Martin, how are you going?
Thanks for having me on the show, Ben.
So, Martin, how are our problems related to complexity?
Well, I'm sure we all have a decent working understanding of complexity. Complexity in a system relates to the uncertainty in achieving the functional requirements of that system. We see this time and time again in the engineering field. A great example would be drought and flood risk analysis under climate change. In cases like this, the system has many different parts which are often interrelated and which are difficult to understand and are difficult to answer to. Now, in the case of the coronavirus, we can see that key aspects of a functioning society, be it going to work, going to school, and of course our public health system, they're all beginning to function quite poorly. Taking this a bit further, we could describe the coronavirus as a complex problem on a whole different level, this level being a wicked problem.
A wicked problem, you say? Could you go into a bit more detail about that?
Well, there's several different ways to characterise a wicked problem, Ben. First of these would be a situation in which there are many different stakeholders with different opinions. On the human side, people's responses are shaped by those around them, and everyone's actions affect the outcomes. For some, they only see the coronavirus as a bad flu, and so they're doing little to change their behaviours. We've seen them packing themselves onto beaches, which helps spread the virus further. Similarly, there's other people who believe that the apocalypse is upon us, and so they're stocking up on items like toilet paper, and this is causing fights for the rest of us as we scramble to get what little remain, anticipating that we might not be able to buy them in the future. The second point is that the issue's roots are complex and tangled. This is where the uncertainty that I've been talking about comes into play. We don't know exactly how the virus came to be, and we still don't know how to treat it yet. Similarly, other issues such as globalization and international relations have come into play. We see that rapid sea and air travel has allowed the virus to spread worldwide, and this in turn has affected the economy as more and more businesses are being forced to close. Third, the issue is difficult to address and changes with every attempt to solve it. That is to say, the problem is affected by the solution and vice versa. We simply don't know ahead of time how effective our management techniques are going to be, and they're bound to cause new problems regardless. As we move to close our borders, for example, we now have the issue of trying to isolate new cases and to determine their movements. We've had mass unemployment and closure of businesses caused as we attempt to slow the spread of the virus. Finally, as we move to become more self-reliant, we need to be able to make our own PPE and treatment equipment available for our health workers. Finally, the challenge has no precedent. The coronavirus can seemingly be spread by people who are showing no symptoms and are otherwise healthy. This is unlike previous outbreaks, such as the swine flu and Ebola virus. Similarly, the closure of otherwise financially successful businesses is completely unprecedented in society. Now, you can draw whatever parallels you like to other wicked problems, such as climate change, traffic management, or healthcare. Like those issues, we all have our own different opinions on the coronavirus, and the problem is affected by how we attempt to solve it. However, the coronavirus problem, no matter what you think, is complex, multi-layered, and unprecedented, which is why we're calling it a wicked problem. I'll now hand over to my colleague in complexity, Imad Azar, who has some graphics to further explain complexity.
And welcome to the show, Imad.
Hi DGB, thanks for having me. So as Martin previously mentioned, a complex system can be made up of many parts, often independent. To better understand complexity, the current situation around the coronavirus in Australia can be modelled using a complex system. So this complex system will be in the form of a complex network, as shown here. So here is an example of a complex network. It involves the concept of national security and relates it to a secure nation. So the concept of national security applies to various principles of the nation. These principles include recalibration of national security resources and budgeting, multi-dimensional efforts to address current and future challenges, developing the ability to anticipate unwelcome contingencies, and integrating diverse skills and perspectives. So the concept of national security must be defined as the capacity of the Australian nation to define, to defend, and to advance Australian interests and principles in the world. These are all in the aim to achieve a secure nation. So the concept of national security contains policy objectives. These are focused on maintaining security. Security is maintained from various challenges, such as aggression against the nation, massive societal disruption, and failure of major national infrastructure systems. These challenges arise from natural forces. These natural forces include pandemics, such as the COVID virus, national disasters, and climate change. These natural forces necessitate resilience capacity. So the resilience capacity consists of system design and construction, system defense, and post-damage recovery. These enhance security capacity of the nation. So these consist of strategic environment formation, threat anticipation and prevention, attack recovery and response, and finally cost control. These are in the aims to ensure a secure nation as well. Thanks for having me. Back to you.
And now, to further discuss the effects that the coronavirus has had on our economy, I'd like to welcome, again from home, our resident financial expert, Alec.
Hey Dishy, thanks for having me. It's really great to be here. Now, as we all know, this virus has impacted everything in our lives. From how often we wash our hands, to how much people are going to have when they retire. It's scary stuff. It's a complex time that we're living in right now, and our economy's been hit pretty hard. Now, it's not like the economy's been affected directly by the virus. It's not going to eat up our money. But there's a range of areas that it is affecting that are feeding into our economy. Just like Imad discussed before, the situation isn't linear. The problem's not going from here to here to here to here. It's going from here to here, back to here, then over here to three other things. These three other things are feeding into this, and then back into the initial issue. And it's just creating this feedback loop where it intensifies and intensifies until we have a crisis on our hand, like we're seeing right now. We can look over to China as an example. People have stopped buying things. Production has dropped by 15%, and this retail sales have dropped by more than 20%. There's no supply, so there's no demand. And there's no demand, so there's no supply. I don't need to buy anything. Well, I can't buy anything if there's nothing for me to buy. And I don't need to make anything if no one's buying it. As people are being isolated, we're self-distancing, socially distancing, we're not going to work. There's so many things that just we don't need anymore. I can't go to the gym. I'm not allowed to leave my house, so the gym shuts down. I don't need a teapot anymore. Well, I need a teapot, but I can't go to the shops to buy one. So this teapot maker is now out of business. What do? There's a whole range of things that are being affected. And with people out of business, our economy starts to fall. People aren't making money, so they can't spend money. This is part of the reason that we need to be looking at such a broad range of issues. Our economy is going to be affected long after people stop getting sick. There's a whole bunch of things that are going to still be seeing the impacts of this long after people have recovered and we haven't seen the virus in a long time. We can't just be looking at the healthcare sector in this problem. It would be poor of our management to look at just one issue. They can't just look here when there's this whole range of issues that we need to be looking at. We need a collaborative effort. We need to be working together. I need to be working with someone, with nurses and with doctors and with businesses and with government to try and solve this issue. Try and work through it. Unravel the complexities. We can't just solve this individually. We can't solve it by ourselves. We need to work together. We need to unite against this to solve this problem, this complex issue.
Thanks for that, Alec. And often in the face of complex problems, we turn to the complex problem solvers, engineers.
Hi Antonio, so how has the outbreak of COVID-19 affected the way you run your site?
Well, it's definitely a challenge. My role is to ensure the project is delivered promptly and on budget, but I must also consider the workers. It's definitely an ethical debate on sending people to work from home, which has its impact on productivity, or continue to expose the workers to each other at the growing risk of contracting the virus. Every one of us has a responsibility to look out for one another and not risk infection on our site, which would have major implications on everyone. Obviously, we know that safety comes first, and productivity will be sacrificed, but when you put your business thinking hat on, it certainly has its major financial issue.
In this tough time, how do you lead a team of engineers? How do you convince them to come to work? What are your responsibilities as their leader?
As a manager, I must consider the well-being of the project, but most importantly, the well-being of the staff. Without the members of the workplace, there's no work. So it's important to keep everyone happy and healthy in order to achieve the most we can as a team. We have a system. Everyone has a very important role to play, and everyone is valued. That's the key. Keeping all the staff involved and valued keeps the machine running. We have established an engineering method that allows for complex situations like this. For example, when people are required to take some time off work due to this virus, in small doses, we can handle it. Effective team membership allows us to have work picked up in times of complex problems, such as this.
And have you considered remaining open during this time of crisis? What are some other hard decisions you've had to make?
At a time when so much is at risk, both financially and health-wise, you must consider all options. I've considered remaining open, but major changes must be implemented. I have to be understanding of the scope of work and try to figure out a way that this can still be achieved to allow works to continue without risking everyone. As a result of this, we have sent many people to work from home. Basically, anyone that can work from home will be doing so. As for the essential work that must be carried out on site, we must abide by government ruling. We have cancelled all face-to-face meetings and have moved to online communication, keeping our distance where possible. Such measures must be taken to allow work to continue. If we were not to follow these rules, we risk being shut down and our people losing jobs. The situation is very real, and everyone must keep working together to keep safe and keep our incomes flowing.
Thank you for joining me, Antonio, and wish you all the best during this time.
Thanks for having me, Asham.
And thank you to everyone in Australia who's tuned into this special edition of Late Night with Dishy B. I hope you've all got a greater understanding of how complex a problem COVID-19 is. We cannot think linearly in these situations. We have to think outside the box. One may even say, stay inside, think outside. I'm Dishy B. Good night, Australia.